Genshin VS Honkai has been a series that I have been doing for quite some time now, and I have a plethora of videos about that, comparing the storytelling to the gameplay, to the systems, and even something as trivial as the Battle Pass, the most recent one. And for the most part, these things can be looked at objectively. You can see which system is better to use, which one feels a lot more user-friendly. Is the combat more fluid in another one? Is this battle pass more generous than the other? And you can come to an objective conclusion on which one is better than the other. But in this video, we're going to take a step back and maybe look at a few more of the subjective things that I've just kind of pushed to the side to make this miscellaneous video compiled of a few subjective things that, you know, your personal opinion will dictate if you like it or not, or if it's good or not. Something like music, for example. And I've got a few of these. It's not going to be an overly long video like some of the other ones, so let's just jump right into it. Let's start off with music. Music is extremely subjective. You have a favorite genre. Everyone has a favorite genre of music. Mine just so happens to be, weirdly enough, anime openings. I absolutely love listening to a lot of anime openings. And it's just one of my favorites, but that is very subjective. Some others may have something like country, some others may have something like K-pop, rock, all the sorts, metal. There's hundreds of genres, and each person may or may not have a different favorite genre, so this is extremely subjective. But looking at both games and how they do music is extremely interesting. If we take a look at Genshin, it tends, 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, tends to be background songs. Something that you can really just put into the background and it doesn't distract you, doesn't cause any sort of musical flow to course through your body. It's just kind of there to fill white noise, if you want to use that for a lack of a better word. White noise. Genshin tends to have white noise music. It's there to just fill a bit of a void in the silence. And this can be easily seen through a lot of the music, mainly some of the open world music, specifically when you're in a city, you'll have a city theme playing. When you go to a character's demo through a YouTube video, you'll have their character demo playing. And even in the open world, you'll sometimes have each zone play a specific theme to that zone. Something specifically like Ankonomiya has an amazing one, same as the Chasm, they have their combat themes. And let's just take a listen to one of the pieces here. So that first one that we listened to was Klee's theme, Let's Go Crimson Knight, which is the theme song to a specific character. And as you can tell, no lyrics, so it's just a nice little song. And the second song that we listened to was the Ankonomiya battle music, which was quite something, you know, one of my favorite soundtracks from Genshin Impact, to be quite frank with you. And you'll notice in both of them that lyrics were absolutely absent because it fills that background noise, that white noise void. And that is mostly how Genshin does its music. Now, it does have a few songs that have quote-unquote lyrics, depends on how you view lyrics, but I should mention that the world boss themes for the Fatui Harbingers specifically are a bit more lyrical. If you look at Signora's theme, Tartaglia's theme, and now after his imminent release recently, Scaramouche's theme, they have a lot more lyrics in them. Now, they're not full-blown singing choruses, verses. It's not full-blown like that, but it does have words being said. And to me, Genshin does an absolute immaculate job at creating these standalone soundtracks that you just play in the background, these small themes that you have here and there that you hear sometimes throughout the world. It does an immaculate job at doing that. It increases the ambient feeling of the world immensely. But looking at how Honkai does it does it completely differently. For the most part, Honkai doesn't really have these small melodies, these very small lyricless songs in its game. It goes the complete opposite route and has just an absolute plethora of full-blown songs, verses, choruses, riffs, bridges, lyrics, all the sorts. It has just so many of these, and they're all absolutely perfect. So let's take a listen to one or two.
Carved on stairs, buried deep in the earth, long submerged beneath waterfalls, or triggering a thunderstorm, summoning gusts of wind, seething waves of sea, slamming on the reefs to make a voice tell us what to believe without any doubt. The way I go through with red roses burn my eyes. Cold rain starts pouring hard. I've been called upon, never let you go. Is why I did them all for a chance at least to live in your way. Love of you is my most cherished thing, so stay alive bravely.
That first one that we listened to was Oracle from AFO, post Honkai Odyssey, just a little bit of an expansion in the game. And that second song was from the Final Lesson cinematic. And as you can tell, both songs and all songs in Honkai are attributed to a specific moment in the game's story. You look at Final Lesson, you have the Final Lesson theme song, which is Nightfall, I believe. And you look at AFO 1 and 2, and you have Oracle and Oath, which are both amazing songs to go alongside with the actual game mode. And as much as I am unable to really understand music to a high degree because I didn't really study music all that well or that much, these themes, or these songs rather, are absolutely immaculate. They portray the theme that you want to portray for that moment. The Final Lesson cinematic is quite the depressing cinematic, portraying a battle of attrition between two forces to the eventual defeat of one side in this climactic burst of musical energy into this cascade of somberness. And then you jump over to AFO with this super techie kind of synthesized mech EDM style lyrics and the super hyped guitar, bass, and drum backing it up. It all sounds absolutely stunning. And as you can probably tell, I'm struggling to describe music because I do not do this on the average day. Both methods of music are amazing, and both of them I love very, very dearly. But there is one thing that is absolutely factual, and one thing only that is super, super duper true about Genshin and Honkai is that Hoyo Mix is carrying the music department. Now I want to jump into character design and skins. I'll jump into skins at the very end of this segment because it's a little bit less important. But for now, let's look at character design. And Genshin Impact's character design is quite good. It does have its cons, but it's quite good. I would say that Genshin Impact's characters all look pretty different from each other when you look at the general clothing, the general personality, and the vibe that the character gives off. A lot of them are very, very different. Very little similarities between a few of them. And if I was to even try to think of a similarity, it would be something like Garnu and, one of the other tall women look the same. But that's a big stretch. Most of the characters generally look very different from each other and also act different from each other. One of my favorites by far being Zhongli and Yelan, two very good characters from Liyue, but they both look definitely very, very different from each other and kind of act very different from each other. And it's a nice thing to see unique characters in the game. Another big pro for the Genshin Impact character design is that all the characters are based on a specific region. So if a character is from Mondstadt, they are from that region, and they generally will look like from that region, and that region tends to be based on a real-life world. So Mondstadt is based on Germany or European Germany, somewhere around that area, and that's why you'll see a lot of the characters dressed up in kind of a bit more suit clothing and a bit more like old-fashioned professional clothing, something along those lines. I don't know how to describe the clothing, but they'll be dressed like that, a bit more old English, maybe, if you want to call it that. That's the general aesthetic that that region goes for. And then if you jump down to Liyue, this region will have clothing based around China, because Liyue is based on China. So you'll have characters like Hu Tao and Ningguang being a lot more Chinese themed, with a lot of the specific shapes and specific angles and weaves of clothing that come with Chinese clothing. And the further we go, Inazuma based on Japan, and Sumeru now based on the kind of Middle East and a bit of like Africa kind of. I'm not exactly sure what Sumeru's based on, but it's based around the kind of a Middle East-ish area. You'll find characters based on their own region, and it's absolutely immaculate. I think the game does a great job at it, at generally designing the character to fit the zone. But there is one con with the Genshin Impact character design system, and it's the fact that there are only 5 character models, and this is a big factor, at least for me personally, is that all the characters will eventually, in a very, very broad sense, end up looking the same, because there is only 5 character models. You have the tall male, the tall female, you have the medium-sized male, the medium-sized female, and then you have the small female. These are the only character models that we have in the game, and 9 times out of 10, the characters don't have a unique version of this specific type. So if you look at the tall females like Ningguang and Beidou, they will pretty much have the same face shape, arm length, arm width, leg length, hip width. It's going to be all the same. And so from a general standpoint, the characters will end up looking the same. And to me, that's just a very easy thing to avoid by just slightly customizing some of the characters. One of the biggest letdown of all time for Genshin's character design is Arataki Ito, who was portrayed as this monstrous hulking guy, who's super buff, super muscly, and when he's added to the game, he's a super thin and lanky person on the same style of Zhongli. But even with that, the character design on the basic level is still extremely immaculate. But now onto Honkai Impact. Honkai Impact's character design is a bit of a curve. It starts off from the game's launch being very, very basic and evolves into extremely, extremely good. If we start off with the first bunch of characters, a few of the Kiana units, a few of the Bronya units, and a few of the Mei units, and as well as Himiko and whatnot, you'll see that the character design is just the same character, with a bit of a tweak in terms of style of clothing, nothing too drastically changing. But once you get past a few characters, once you go a bit further, maybe probably past patch 3.0, I'm not exactly sure what patch it is, but once you start getting into the newer characters like Hersher of Flame Scion, Hersher of Thunder, Hersher of Reason, the Hershers, if you will, and even some of the more newer characters that are from the Flame Chaser department, like Eponia, Pardafelis, Eden, even Mobius, Natasha. Once you get into all these characters, the character design is really, really good. Every character has their own model, every character has their own color scheme, aesthetic, a specific vibe that they are portraying. Mobius is this kind of like sketchy scientist, Natasha is this stealthy assassin. You have all these super, super good and super unique character designs, all with their own unique model. And that is the part that really, really sells it on me. Every character is specifically designed by themselves, no copy pasting of specific assets onto the character. The character is designed from the ground up, and it's immaculate. Some of my favorite character designs comes from Eponia, Vilvi, as well as Pardafelis, who are very, 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 very vastly different characters. Eponia is this kind of, you know, melancholic nun. Vilvi is this kind of like mechanical clockwork lady with a machine gun. And then you have Pardafelis, who is this just a sly salesman Catwoman, which, you know, you can't really go wrong with a Catwoman in your game, to be quite frank, especially when it's the tall variant. But again, the one con that I do find with the character design system, but it's a part of Honkai's general kind of lore or how it's made. All of the characters that do have extremely large amounts of copies of themselves, i.e. the Bronya units and the Kiana and Mei units, all of the early versions look identical to each other. The difference between Valkyrie Chariot and pretty much all the other Bronyas is pretty much nothing until you get to Hershey of Reason, Hacksaw Bunny, and then in the end, Silverwing Nex. The ones prior to that don't really look any different from the other unless you're looking for specific clothing types. But obviously it also comes down to gameplay. Obviously these characters are different in gameplay, but we're looking at character design here. Character design wise, from that point backwards, all the characters look identical to each other. But even with that, the newer characters are definitely carrying the deluxe apartment, which is absolutely immaculate, and I love to see it all. And now for the last little point of this area, or this section of the video, the skins. I'm going to combine Honkai and Genshin into one kind of spiel. Both games have great skins. I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I love looking at the skins in both games. You have in Genshin the Diluc Red Dead of the Night skin, which is probably one of the more fan favorite ones. It looks amazing. It changes a fair bit of the character. And overall, a very good skin. Next, you have the official one, the one that we got from the event. I am Anachron Straxon Maxon. I don't even know its name. Then you have the Ningguang skin and the Kaching skin, the Jean skin, and then the Barbara skin. And the reason I name all these skins is because I really want to accent the lack thereof skins that Genshin has. Now, whilst the skins are absolutely immaculate, I absolutely love Ningguang's Orchid Evening Gown skin. It's one of my favorite skins in the game that I own myself. And then even, you know, Jean's and Barbara's summer outfit, they're amazing. Kaching's general outfit is absolutely stunning. These skins are amazing, immaculate, and I would get them all if I really wanted these characters or if I like these characters. My only problem with Genshin's skinning system is that they don't release enough. And I just want to mention that because I do think it's a problem. But seeing as that's not the main point, the skin comparison is, I think the skins are done very well. Each one follows a specific theme, and it's somehow tied to the backstory of the character, mainly seen through Diluc's and Fischl's skin. Fischl's is pretty much the whole premise of one of the events a few patches ago, and Diluc's skin is his kind of outfit that he had when he was a lone adventurer, kind of sieging Snezhnaya, if you want to say that. The skins are designed very well, and I wish there was a lot more of them. But onto Honkai's skins, and I'm only going to be mentioning the newest ones that I currently know from the back of my mind, because there's a plethora of skins in Honkai. There's an absolute metric shit ton of them. But if we look at the recent ones, we have the Palatinus Equinox demonic skin. I don't know what it's called. It's like Triben Thumgan Lead. I don't know its name. It's a very weird name. But it's Palatinus Equinox's new skin, which is absolutely immaculate. It has two forms to coincide with her actual two forms for her Valkyrie. She has this divine, quote-unquote divine, not really divine, kind of like pristine, divine and demonic look, which is absolutely immaculate. Both are done to such a high degree. And then we have the Eponia skin, although not a massively fan favorite one. A lot of people have a problem with this one. It still is a very good skin in regards to just changing what the character looks like. You go from a nun to a person in a swimsuit. It's a massive change. And then even the other two skins, you have the Eden skin, which is obviously a buy one, much like the Genshin skins, but this one looks absolutely immaculate. I own it myself because Eden is the best. And then even the Mobius skin that you got for free from the recent Fall Guys event in Honkai. This new skin, although it's a free skin and kind of just like one of the minor skins in the game, I would still classify this as a pretty good skin because it changes the character's looks pretty drastically and it changes the overall color scheme of the character, giving the new and fresh vibe. All these skins are absolutely immaculate, and pretty much Genshin and Honkai have equal skin design in my opinion. The only problem is that Honkai just releases so many more and so more frequently than Genshin ever does, and that's just my own personal kind of take on this right now. Now, I'm going to wrap this video up here in the hopes of not making it excessively long. But don't worry, there will be another Genshin vs Honkai Miscellaneous coming in the future where I go over a few more topics. Hope you guys did enjoy this video, and tell me down in the comments what you think about both Genshin vs Honkai, the music design, as well as character and skin design. I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.